द्वितीयम्पि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
द्वितीयं कि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
द्वितीयम्पि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि।
द्वितीयं पि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि।
द्वितीयम्पि संघं शरणं गच्छामि।
द्वितीयं पि संघं शरणं गच्छामि।
तृतीयम्पि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
तृतीयं पि बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि।
तृतीयम्पि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि।
तृतीयं पि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि।
तृतीयम्पि संघं शरणं गच्छामि।
तृतीयं पि संघं शरणं गच्छामि।
शरणागमनं निठितं।
आं भन्ते
पानातिपाता वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
पानातिपाता वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
आदिन्नदाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
अदिन्नदाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
कामेषु मिच्छाचारा वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
कामेषु मिच्छाचार वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
मूसावाद वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
मुसावाद वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
सुरामेरय मज्जपमादठाना वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
सुरामेरय मज्जपमादठान वेरमणि सिक्खापदं समादयामि।
साधु 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 तिसन्नेन सन्धि पंचशीलं धम्मं साधुकं सुरक्षितं कृत्वा अपमादेन शील सम्पादितव्यो।
साधु 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 बुद्धं नमामि, धम्मं नमामि, संघं नमामि. Many sadhu Bhante. Over to you, Jyoti.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Auntie, and thank you so much, Manteji. I see that a lot more people have joined. Once again, welcome to the online Vihara for today, and happy Father's Day to everyone. I just wanted to go over our agenda for the day. We have Venerable Banteji Sivali. Am I pronounced? Okay, Sivali
Yes.
who will start with the Dhamma discourse. Then we have a motivational story by the kids. Ian will be presenting a story today, so we'll proceed with that. And then in the end, we'll conclude with our guest speaker for today, Mr. Harish Chandra Sukadevaji. So thank you so much for being here today. We're really looking forward to hearing you speak on your topic for today, which is the ghost of Manusmriti. The ghost of Manusmriti sneaks into the education system of India. So I really am looking forward to that talk as well. So with that, I would like to request Panteji to take the lead and begin with our discussion for today.
साधु साधु साधु। सबसे पहले तो मैं हमारे शास्त्रा जिनके इस आर्य विनय में हम सभी शासित होने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं, उसी प्रकार उनका संघ जो इस आर्य विनय पे चलकर सोतापति सुकृतगामी अनागामी और अरहंत पद को प्राप्त हो रहा है, ऐसे इन तीन रत्नों को वंदन करता हूँ। उसी प्रकार अपने उपध्याय जिनने कारण मुझे इस बुद्ध शासन में उपसंपदा मिली है, और अपने सभी आचार्य और कल्याण मित्र के प्रति मंगल कामना करता हूँ। आज जो हम जानेंगे तो दो तरह के जो लोग जो पाए जाते हैं इस बुद्ध शासन में, सिर्फ बुद्ध शासन में नहीं बल्कि इस संसार में, इस पूरे पृथ्वी पर, इस मानवीय जाति में जो दो तरह के लोग पाए जाते हैं उसके बारे में चर्चा करेंगे, जिसके लिए धर्म की आवश्यकता नहीं। ऐसा नहीं कि बुद्ध शासन में ये लोग पाए जाते हैं, जब बुद्ध शासन नहीं भी होता है तब भी ये जो दो कैटेगरीज जो भगवान ने किए, जो दो वर्गीकरण किए हैं मानवीय जाति में, एक सत्पुरुष और दूसरा असत्पुरुष, ये दो तरह के लोग भगवान ने बताया कि संसार में हमेशा से मौजूद होते हैं। बस कभी कभार ये होता है कि मेजोरिटी बदलती रहती है ना। जिस प्रकार समाज की विचारधाराएं होती है, जिन बातों में समाज रुचि लेना शुरू करता है, उसके आधारों पर इसकी जो मेजोरिटी, इसकी जो परसेंटेज है, वो कम ज्यादा होते रहते हैं, पर समाज में अक्सर पाए जाते हैं। तो एक होता है सत्पुरुष और दूसरा होता है असत्पुरुष। इंग्लिश में इसके लिए कोई प्रॉपर वर्ड तो है नहीं, बट कई सारे वर्ड्स पाए जाते हैं कि वर्चुअस पर्सन, काइंड पर्सन, बट दिस आर नॉट द प्रॉपर वर्ड्स, है ना। तो सत्पुरुष और असत्पुरुष, जरूरी नहीं कि धार्मिक ही व्यक्ति सत्पुरुष होते हैं या अधार्मिक व्यक्ति ही असत्पुरुष होते हो। सत्पुरुष वो व्यक्ति होता है जिस व्यक्ति में कृतज्ञता का गुण होता है, तो सत्पुरुष कह सकते हैं। यही गुण है जो उस सत्पुरुष की कोटि में भी रखता है, जो है सत्पुरुषों की कोटि में शामिल करता है। तो यह एक गुण होता है कृतज्ञता का। दूसरा गुण होता है सहनशीलता का। व्यक्ति में अगर व्यक्ति सहनशील हो तो ये गुण भी उसे सत्पुरुष बनाता है, सत्पुरुषों की कोटि में शामिल करता है। जो व्यक्ति सहनशील नहीं हो सकता है, वो सत्पुरुष होना उसके लिए इतना सरल नहीं है। तीसरा जो गुण होता है वो ये होता है कि वो सहायता के लिए तत्पर रहता है, परोपकारी होता है। किसी भी व्यक्ति पे बड़े आसानी से उपकार कर लेता है। वो उसकी जाति नहीं देखेगा, या यह नहीं देखेगा कि मेरा इस व्यक्ति के साथ क्या संबंध है, या स्त्री है या पुरुष, या किस तरह का, या मेरे धर्म का है या मेरे विचार सरणी का है, इस प्रकार से वो नहीं देखता है। तो वो हमेशा परोपकार के लिए तैयार होता है। परोपकारता का गुण इतना सरल नहीं है, त्याग से उत्पन्न होता है परोपकारता का। परोपकार अर्थात किसी भी व्यक्ति की सहायता करने के लिए क्या होता है, तैयार होता है। तो ये तीन तरह के गुण क्या देखते हैं हम सत्पुरुष व्यक्ति में देखते हैं। फिर वो किसी भी धर्म का क्यों ना हो, किसी भी जाति का क्यों ना हो, तो सत्पुरुष है। अगर उसमें एक गुण नहीं है, फिर वो अपने आप को कितना भी धार्मिक क्यों ना कहे, तो अगर उसमें गुण सत्पुरुष नहीं, सत्पुरुष नहीं, तो फिर धार्मिक भी वो सही तरीके से नहीं हो सकता है। और रूढ़िवादी व्यक्ति है जो किसी की हिंसा भी कर सकता है, किसी का नुकसान भी कर सकता है, अपने लोभ के चलते, अपने द्वेष के चलते। साधारणतः तो लोभ और द्वेष सभी व्यक्ति में उत्पन्न होते हैं। ऐसा कोई व्यक्ति नहीं है जो संसार में होते हुए उसमें लोभ उत्पन्न ना हो, उसमें द्वेष उत्पन्न ना हो, उसमें क्रोध उत्पन्न ना हो। परिस्थिति आती है कि क्रोध उत्पन्न होता है। कभी कभार कई सारी बातों को देखते हुए, चीजों को देखते हुए, भविष्य की चिंता होने पर व्यक्ति को लोभ भी उत्पन्न हो जाता है। इसी प्रकार अपना ही व्यक्ति या ऐसा कोई व्यक्ति जो हमारे लिए अहितपूर्ण कार्य कर रहा है, या हमारे लिए कुटिलतापूर्ण विचार रखता है, हमें दुष्ट और भ्रष्ट करने के प्रयासों में लगा है, ऐसे व्यक्ति के प्रति जब जानने को मिलता है तो द्वेष उत्पन्न होता है। पर सत्पुरुष, क्योंकि इन्हीं लोगों में से कोई होता है, तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि वो मुक्त तो होने का है ना। तो मुक्त होने का है तो ऐसा नहीं कि उसमें बातें उत्पन्न नहीं, उसमें भी बातें उत्पन्न होती है, पर उसमें सद्गुण, सत्पुरुष के जो सद्गुण होते हैं, कौन सा वो गुण होता है कि एक, वो कृतज्ञता पूर्ण व्यक्ति होता है, परोपकार पूर्ण व्यक्ति होता है, सहनशील होता है, नैतिकता को अर्थात शीलों को अपने जीवन में वो स्थान देता है, मैत्रीवान, मैत्रीयुक्त स्वभाव का होने के कारण उसके मन में कभी गलती से संयम ना होने के कारण, या फिर सती माइंडफुलनेस, सती संप्रजन्य कम्प्रहेंशन प्रॉपरली ना होने के कारण कभी द्वेष द्वेष भी उत्पन्न हो सकता है किसी व्यक्ति के लिए प्रति, लोभ उत्पन्न हो सकता है। पर उसमें उत्पन्न हुआ लोभ, उसमें उत्पन्न हुआ द्वेष कभी किसी दूसरे व्यक्ति की हानि नहीं करेगा, उसके पहले ही रुक जाएगा, क्योंकि वो सत्पुरुष है। तो ये सत्पुरुष होने से रुक जा रहा है क्या? नहीं। सत्पुरुष होने के नाते उसके अंदर में जो गुण है कृतज्ञता का, उसके अंदर में जो गुण है परोपकारता का, उसके अंदर में जो गुण है सहनशीलता का, उसके अंदर में जो गुण है मैत्री का, इस कारणवश वो किसी और की हानि नहीं कर पाता। बुरे विचार उत्पन्न होने पर भी उसको रोक लगा देगी। तो ये सत्पुरुष होना बहुत आवश्यक है अगर आप चाहते कि समाज सही रूप से क्या हो, चले। समाज में व्यक्तियों को कर्म सिद्धांतों पे विश्वास हो, समाज में व्यक्तियों को नैतिक आचरण पे अगर समाज का विश्वास बना रहे, अगर हम ऐसा चाहते हैं, तो हमें समय समय पे सत्पुरुषों के दर्शन होने चाहिए। अगर सत्पुरुषों के दर्शन हमें नहीं होते हैं, तो क्या होता है, हमारा फिर कर्म सिद्धांत के ऊपर से विश्वास उठना शुरू हो जाता है। हमारा समाज में नैतिकता और अच्छाई के ऊपर से विश्वास उठना शुरू हो जाता है। हम अज्ञानता और भिन्न भिन्न तरह के जो कर्मकांड समाज में फैले हो जाते हैं, उसमें ही रुचि लेना शुरू कर देते हैं। हमें ऐसा लगता है कि अच्छाई करके अर्थ नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारे आंखों के सामने सत्पुरुष नहीं दिख रहे, दुष्ट व्यक्ति दिख रहे, तो लगता है कि देखो ये दुष्ट कार्य करके सुखी है। इस प्रकार के कर्मों से भी इन्हें सुख प्रदान हो रहा है, यश प्राप्त हो रहा है, लाभ प्राप्त हो रहा है, धन प्राप्त हो रहा है। तो धीरे धीरे करके उनका जो कर्म, जो धर्म है, जो नैतिक आचरण है, जो नैतिक सामाजिक संरचना के प्रति जो विचार है, उनके इसमें हास होना शुरू हो जाता है। इसलिए भी भगवान बुद्ध अपने शिक्षा में कहते हैं कि व्यक्ति जो सत्पुरुष से के दर्शन नहीं हुए होंगे, जो सन्मार्ग को इसने देखा नहीं होगा, वही व्यक्ति है जो पृथक जन है। और पृथक पृथक यहाँ वहां जो भटके हुए हैं ना, इधर भटके हुए, कोई कर्मकांड में फंस के भटके हुए, कोई बाबाओं में भटके हुए है ना, कोई अंधश्रद्धा में भटके हुए हैं। तो भिन्न भिन्न पृथक पृथक तरीके से भटके होने का जो कारण है, यही है कि सत्पुरुषों के दर्शन नहीं हो रहे हैं। सत्पुरुषों के दर्शन होते बराबरी व्यक्ति कृतज्ञता, परोपकारता, मैत्री, शील, सहनशीलता, इस पे आरूढ़ होना शुरू हो जाता है। और इस पे आरूढ़ हो जाने से क्या हो जाता है कि वो परस्पर निंदा, परस्पर वैरमनस, परस्पर द्वेष, इन बातों से ग्रसित ना होने के कारण गलत कामों पे और हानियों पे नहीं चलता। फिर उन्हें बाबाओं की आवश्यकता नहीं होती है, उन्हें कर्म कांडों की आवश्यकता नहीं होती है। कर्म कांड बाबाओं में व्यक्ति फंसते क्योंकि सहनशीलता नहीं है, धैर्य नहीं है, परोपकारता का भाव नहीं है, मैत्री का भाव नहीं है। पर यह भी बात उतनी ही सत्य है कि सत्पुरुष इतने आसानी से उपलब्ध नहीं होते हैं। सत्पुरुष हर जगह नहीं देखने के लिए मिलते, बहुत दुर्लभ होते सत्पुरुषों का दर्शन। और आज के काल में तो बड़ा दुर्लभ है। तो ये दुर्लभ इसलिए नहीं है कि आज के समय में बहुत पापी लोग हैं, या ऐसी ऐसी धारणा मत बनाएंगे कि अरे अभी तो पापियों का जमाना है, कलयुग है, इसलिए सत्पुरुष दुर्लभ है। नहीं, ये कारण नहीं है। कारण है आज हम जिस तरह की बातों से घिर चुके हैं, इस प्रकार सोशल मीडिया ने एक कई सारे काम अच्छे किए, पर सोशल मीडिया के इस्तेमाल को लेके हम जो संयमशील नहीं है, हम जो मैत्रीपूर्ण नहीं है, हमने जो अपने आप को शीलों से नहीं बांधा है, इस कारण से हमारे पास जो छोटे मोटे जो सद्गुण होते हैं, वो भी इस अच्छी वस्तु के हमारे हाथ में आने पर हम उससे सही तरीके से इस्तेमाल ना करने के कारण हम अपने अच्छे गुणों से भी क्या हाथ धो बैठ रहे, है ना। अगर चाकू तो अच्छा होता है, चाकू का कोई इस्तेमाल कोई सब्जी काटने के लिए भी करता है, और वही सब्जी काट के किसी के लिए खाना पकाता है, किसी की भूख दूर करता है। चाकू का इस्तेमाल करके नर्स डॉक्टर किसी की जान बचाते हैं, और वही चाकू का इस्तेमाल करके कोई हत्यारा किसी का खून कर लेता है, किसी को नुकसान पहुंचा देता है। तो हम कभी वस्तुओं को दोष नहीं ठहरा सकते हैं कि जो वस्तुएं है वो हमें बिगाड़ रही है, बल्कि हमारे जो सद्गुण हमने अच्छी प्रकार से उसे भावित नहीं किया, बहुलीकृत नहीं किया। कि भगवान ये दो शब्द अक्सर बार बार कहते हैं अपनी शिक्षाओं में, पाली में अगर आप सुनते हैं भगवान के उपदेश पढ़ते हैं, तो दो शब्द बार बार देखने के लिए मिलते हैं, भावित और बहुलीकृत। बहुलीकृत अर्थात उसको बढ़ाते नहीं है और उसको अच्छी प्रकार से डेवलप नहीं करते हैं, कल्टीवेट नहीं करते। तो इस बात के कारण क्या होता है कि जैसे कमजोर वृक्ष होता है, हवा आने पर गिर जाता है, तो वैसे ही हमारे जो सद्गुण जिसको हमने भावित और बहुलीकृत नहीं किया है, कभी कभार भौतिक वस्तु के कारण हम उनका गलत चीजों के इस्तेमाल कर देते हैं, हमारा जो मन है उसका गलत इस्तेमाल की ओर झुक जाता है। तो क्या हो जाता है कि आज के सोशल मीडिया ने या फिर ऐसे कई सारी चीजें जो उन्हें आसानी से उपलब्ध हो रही है, उसी आसानी से उपलब्ध होने के कारण उसका आसानी से गलत तरीके से इस्तेमाल कर पा रहे। विशेष रूप से अगर हम देखिए इंस्टा की, फेसबुक की और व्हाट्सएप की बात करें, रील्स की बात करें, शॉर्ट्स की बात करें, तो इन इन बातों ने ऐसा कर दिया कि हमारा तो संयम सहनशीलता पूरी नष्ट कर दी है। क्योंकि इसके जो रील्स, ये 15 सेकंड के, अगर व्यक्ति 15 सेकंड की रील्स ही प्रॉपरली देख नहीं पा रहा है, तो हम विचार कर सकते हैं कहाँ से धैर्य, कहाँ से सहनशील था। और ऊपर से इतने आसानी से हमारे पास इतने आसानी से जो स्पीचेस रील्स के थ्रू उपलब्ध हो जाती, जिससे हमारा मन भटक जाता है, व्याकुल हो जाता है, तो हम डेवलप ही नहीं कर पा रहे। ये गुणों को सबसे पहले भावित करने के लिए हमें अपने आप को वैसे परिस्थितियों में रखना पड़ता है। इसलिए जब भी यहाँ तक कि कोई भिक्षु भी अगर साधना करना शुरू करता है, अपने अंदर सद्गुणों को भावित बहुलीकृत करने का प्रयास करता है, तो सबसे पहले वो एकांतवास में जाता है। अगर सती का समाधि का अभ्यास करता है, सती समाधि का अभ्यास करने के पहले भी जो सती पट्ठान का उपदेश वो सुनता है, तो भगवान वही कहते हैं कि रुक्ख मूलगत होवा शून्यागारगत होवा, कि पहले वो ऐसे किसी एकांत स्थान पे जाके अपने चित्त को पहले शांत करने का प्रयास करता। तो उसी प्रकार सत्पुरुष आज इसलिए भी हमें उतनी बड़ी तादाद में देखने के लिए नहीं मिल रहे कि व्यक्ति एक अकेला रहने की जो क्षमता है वो खो रहा है सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू। आज व्यक्ति रूम में अकेला रहने पर भी अकेला नहीं है, किसी न किसी फ्रेंड के साथ। आज 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 का अगर इंट्रोवर्टनेस भी बोलेंगे तो बड़ा अलग है। आज का इंट्रोवर्ट भी पहले समान इंट्रोवर्ट नहीं रहा। आज का इंट्रोवर्ट मे बी ही इज एन इंट्रोवर्ट इन सोशल get-togethers, but he's totally extrovert when it comes to social media. तो आज का अगर अगर आप इंट्रोवर्ट की परिभाषा ही बदल देंगे, बड़ी बदलनी पड़ेगी इंट्रोवर्ट की परिभाषा। तो इसलिए भी आज का जो समय है, जो काल है, आज के समय और काल में जो चीजें उपलब्ध है, उन कारणों से सत्पुरुष बड़े दुर्लभ और हो गए हैं। प्रज्ञावान तो है, आज के काल में बड़े आसानी से आपको प्रज्ञावान बुद्धिजीवी बुद्धिमय वर्ग मिलेगा, पर क्योंकि उनके बुद्धिमत्ता उनके प्रज्ञावान गुणों के साथ वो अपने सहनशीलता का गुण, धैर्य का गुण, परोपकारता का गुण इसको भावित नहीं कर पाए, इसलिए भी उनकी प्रज्ञा क्या हो रही है, उनका ज्ञान जो उन्हीं का नुकसान का कारण बन रहा है। यह बाबा साहेब की दी हुई शिक्षा बड़े सुंदर उसका बड़ा प्यारा झलक देखने के लिए मिलती है। इसलिए भगवान बुद्ध कहते हैं, बाबा साहब कहते हैं कि बुद्धिमत्ता के साथ ज्ञान के साथ अगर करुणा और शील ये दो गुण नहीं होंगे तो उसकी बुद्धिमत्ता समाज हित के लिए लोक हित के लिए कार्य नहीं होंगी, वो स्वयं का ही उत्थान करने का प्रयास करेगा। इसलिए भी आज कई सारे विशेष रूप से हमारे जो समाज में है, धनवान तो कई लोग हो गए हैं, पर सामाजिक रूप से आज भी हम में वही दरिद्रता पिछड़ापन है। आज भी समाज के रूप में हम लोग पीछे हैं, क्योंकि हमारी बुद्धिमत्ता ने हमारे ज्ञान में करुणा और शीलों का भार नहीं है। तो व्यक्तिगत रूप से हमारे समाज के कई सारे लोग आईएएस अफसर हो चुके हैं, धनवान हो चुके हैं, बड़ी बड़ी इमारतें खड़ी हो गई, पर जब वही बात समाज के रूप में देखोगे तो हमारा समाज आज भी देखें तो पीछे ही है। तो ये एक गुण है। तो इसलिए सत्पुरुष होना आवश्यक है विद्वान होने से ज्यादा, तो ये गुण भावित होना जरूरी है। आप देखिए सत्पुरुष, तो सत्पुरुष का ये गुण रहेगा कि वो कृतज्ञ रहेंगे। हम देखते हैं कि भगवान बुद्ध के समय में क्या हुआ कि एक एक बूढ़ा इंसान है, वो उसको काष्य वस्त्र धारण करने का मन किया तथा चिवर ग्रहण करने का, भिक्षु जीवन लेने का मन किया। तो कई सारे भिक्षु के पास गया, पर किसी भिक्षु ने उसे चिवर नहीं दिया, बूढ़े होने के कारण से, या फिर उसका स्वभाव ठीक ना, या फिर जो चिड़चिड़ा जो गुण है वो होने के कारण, भिन्न भिन्न कारणों के कारण कई लोगों ने उसे दीक्षा नहीं दी। फिर ऐसे कर करके वो भगवान के पास भी गया और भगवान के पास की शिकायत किया कि भगवान मुझे कोई प्रवज्ञा ही नहीं दे रहा है, कोई भी मुझे चीवर नहीं दे रहा है। तो भगवान उस समय उस नगर में जितने भी भिक्खु उपलब्ध थे या ठहरे हुए थे, उन सभी को बुलाते और उनसे पूछते हैं। तो उनसे भगवान ये नहीं कहते कि क्यों तुम इसे दीक्षा नहीं दे रहे। भगवान सिर्फ एक ही प्रश्न पूछते हैं कि क्या किसी को इसका उपकार याद है क्या। पूरे भिक्खु संघ को पूछते, ये प्रश्न आवश्यक है। तो ये जबरदस्ती किससे क्या कार्य कर रहा है ना। हमें कैसे किसी को बोलो किसी दिशा दिशा दे दो, तो वो सभी से पूछते हैं भिक्खु संघ से कि क्या किसी को इसका उपकार याद है। तब भगवान की तरफ सारीपुत्र आगे आते और सारीपुत्र कहते कि भगवान हाँ मुझे याद है, इसने मुझे एक चम्मच चावल दिया था आज से 10 वर्ष पहले। पिछले 10 वर्ष पहले इसने मुझे एक चम्मच चावल दिया था, वो याद है सारीपुत्र को। तो देखिए कितना कृतज्ञ था। और फिर भगवान कहते कि सारीपुत्र तुम ही से दीक्षा दो कि तुम्हें इससे उपकार याद है। वो इसलिए भी उसका सहायता कर पाए क्योंकि एहसान याद है। जब हमें किसी के उपकार याद होते हैं तो हमारा हृदय अपने आप झुक जाता है उस व्यक्ति की सहायता करने के लिए, उस व्यक्ति की जिम्मेदारी लेने के लिए। इसीलिए भी कृतज्ञता का गुण आवश्यक है। और आजकल के बच्चों में तो ये बड़ा देखने के लिए नहीं मिलता। आजकल के बच्चे साफ साफ बोलते हैं पैदा किया तो उन्हें पालना पड़ेगा। और इसीलिए भी अकर्मण्यता आजकल के बच्चों में देखने के लिए मिलती है, क्योंकि ऐसा बोलते नहीं पैदा किया ना माँ बाप तो पालना पड़ेगा, कृतज्ञता नहीं दिखती है। और इसलिए भी कई सारे वृद्धाश्रमों में भाई माँ बाप कई सारे बच्चे वृद्धाश्रम में भेज देते हैं या उनका ध्यान देना छूट देते हैं। ऐसे कई सारे घटनाएं भी हमें देखने के लिए मिलती है कि वृद्धाश्रम में छोड़ने पर भी जब माँ आखिरी सांस लेती रहती है और आखिरी सांस अटकी होती है बच्चों को देखने के लिए, तो कई सारे वृद्धाश्रम जब फोन भी लगाते हैं, बच्चे लोग आते नहीं, कहते हैं कि हम लोग काम में बिजी, हम लोग आ नहीं पाएंगे, आप लोग निपटा दीजिए। तो देखिए आखिरी समय भी उनको अपने माता पिता का चेहरा देखने का मन नहीं करता, पर वो माता पिता कितना मन करता, तो ये क्यों हो रहा है, किस लिए कहेंगे? तो यही कि ये सद्गुण, जो सत्पुरुषों के सद्गुण है, वो उनमें भावित नहीं कर पाए। आप देखते हैं सारी पुत्रों को सिर्फ एक चम्मच खीर याद है 10 वर्ष पुराना पहले दिया हुआ। तो इस प्रकार से गुण होना चाहिए। हमें कृतज्ञता, हमें दूसरों के जो हम पे जो एहसान हुए वो याद होना चाहिए। और समय आने पे जब हमें दिख रहे हैं वो संकट में, तो वो याद आने चाहिए, अरे इस व्यक्ति, वही व्यक्ति जिसने मेरी सहायता की थी इस काम के लिए। तो जब हमें किसी का कार्य हमारे लिए याद आता है, तो हमारा मन अपने आप झुक जाता है। तो ये इसमें भी वो नम्रवान होता है। फिर दूसरा होता है कि धैर्यवान, धैर्यवान, सहनशीलता। आज क्या हो जाती है कि तुरंत हमारे वाणी से किसी के लिए, बड़ों बड़ों के लिए क्या हो जाती है, अपशब्द निकल जाते हैं। इसलिए भी अपशब्द निकलते हैं कि हमें धैर्य नहीं है। इसलिए भी हम लोग अपना बाण, हमारे शब्दों का छूट जाता है कि धैर्य नहीं है। तो धैर्य क्यों नहीं हो रहा? धैर्य इसलिए भी नहीं हो पा रहा कि हम समझते नहीं कि सामने वाला जो इंसान खड़ा है वो बड़ा है, ज्येष्ठ है। ये दो बातें याद रखनी होनी चाहिए कि सामने वाला व्यक्ति श्रेष्ठ है तो मैंने शांत रहना चाहिए, या सामने वाला व्यक्ति ज्येष्ठ है तो मैंने शांत रहना चाहिए। कभी कभार ऐसा होता है कि हमसे उम्र में छोटा हो पर श्रेष्ठ होता है, सामाजिक रुतबे में, या फिर ज्ञान के रुतबे में, या फिर धन के रुतबे में, तो हमने उस प्रकार से उसका मान रखना चाहिए। अगर हमें नहीं लग रहा है कि ज्यादा हो रहा है, तो प्रतिक्रिया देने से अच्छा हमें सोचना चाहिए कि यहाँ ठहरना ठीक नहीं है, या यहाँ पे ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व होना ठीक नहीं है। अपने कर्मों को लेके व्यक्ति ने जागरूक होना चाहिए, क्योंकि तब भी धैर्यवान हो जाता है जब व्यक्ति अपने जीवन में शीलों को भी स्थान देता है। शीलवान व्यक्ति में धैर्य उत्पन्न होना बड़ा सरल हो जाता है, क्योंकि शीलवान व्यक्ति का सबसे प्रथम कार्य यही होता है, या प्रथम ध्यान ये होता है कि इन सब बातों में, इन सब घटनाओं में मेरा शील न टूट जाए, मेरा जीवन जो शीलमय जीवन है वो खंडित ना हो जाए। इस प्रकार से उसमें धैर्य भी होता है। इसलिए धैर्य और शील का बड़ा निकटतम संबंध है। तो इसलिए जो धैर्यवान होना चाहते हैं वो शीलवान भी हो। सत्पुरुषों का धैर्यवान होना, शीलवान होना भी एक गुण हो। और तीसरा परोपकारता, अर्थात सहायता करता है हमेशा दूसरों की, क्योंकि उसे वो अपने जीवन के सौभाग्यशालीता अनुभव करता है कि मेरा जीवन कितना सौभाग्यशाली पूर्ण है, कि मेरा जीवन इतना सुंदर है, मुझे सभी कुछ तो उपलब्ध है। सभी कुछ में क्या देखता है? सभी कुछ में देखता है कि मुझे भोजन प्राप्त हो रहा है सुबह शाम, और अच्छा भोजन प्राप्त हो रहा है, पेट खाली नहीं सोना पड़ रहा है, दूसरी बार एक छत भी है मुझे, और अच्छे वस्त्र पहनने के लिए है, माँ बाप भी है। तो सभी कुछ मुझे उपलब्ध है। और ये सब उपलब्ध होने पर अगर मैं किसी की सहायता कर सकता हूँ, मेरे में इतना सामर्थ्य, मैं क्यों ना करूं? अगर मुझे लगता है कि मेरी किसी ने सहायता करना चाहिए, या फिर वो इस तरीके से सोचता कि अगर मैं उस परिस्थिति में होता तो मुझे भी अपेक्षा होती कि मेरी किसी ने सहायता करना चाहिए, कितना भयभीत हो जाता अगर मेरी कोई सहायता नहीं कर पाता, अगर मैं निकल नहीं पाता। तो ऐसे विचारों से सत्पुरुष बनता है। ऐसे विचारों से उसमें सद्गुण भावित होते हैं, बहुलीकृत होते हैं। और ऐसे विचारों से एक एक करके एक अच्छा समाज, सुदृढ़ समाज निर्माण होता है। तो भगवान की शिक्षा एक अच्छे समाज को निर्माण करने में सहायक हो सकती है, पर भगवान की शिक्षा के अनुसार चले, उसको श्रवण करे और वैसा मनन करते हुए धारण करे, ये भगवान की शिक्षा है। और भगवान की शिक्षा में कई ज्यादा महत्वपूर्ण स्थान दिया, एक बुद्धिस्ट होने से कई गुना इंपॉर्टेंस बुद्धिज्म में सत्पुरुष होने को दिया गया है। पहले आप सत्पुरुष हो, एक अच्छे बुद्धिस्ट नहीं हो तो भी चल जाएगा, जरूरी नहीं कि आप बुद्ध की फोटो लेके, बुद्ध का लॉकेट लेके चले, पर सत्पुरुष बनिए। आप सत्पुरुष बन रहे तो आपके जीवन में बुद्ध अपने आप महत्वपूर्ण स्थान पकड़ लेंगे, क्योंकि बुद्ध समान सत्पुरुष कौन है? उनके संग में जो आर्य लोग है, सोतापति, सकुर्दागामी, अनागामी, अरंत, इन समान सत्पुरुष लोग कौन है? ये आपके लिए प्रेरणा बन जाएंगे। आपको कोई और बाहर देखने की, ढूंढने की, बाबाओं के पास फंसने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, अगर इन सत्पुरुषों को दर्शन हो गए। और बुद्ध शासन में उत्तम से उत्तम सत्पुरुष है, तो इन सत्पुरुषों को देखो, इनके दर्शन करो, और अपने जीवन क्या करो, परिवर्तित करो। इतना आज के लिए काफी है। साधु साधु साधु।
ज्योति।
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pantaji, for the Dhamma discourse today. If anyone has any thoughts, any questions, any concerns, or anything that they want to add, please feel free to share.
Hello, this is Anshul. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So Bante ji, one quick question. Uh,
Yes, one good question.
so मैं हिंदी में पूछता हूँ.
Yes, you can ask
Usually,
in English too. I understand.
usually ऐसा क्यों होता है कि people get attracted to bad stuff easily, and it is hard to get good things in your habits. It's difficult. Why usually it is like that?
सी देखिए, ऐसा नहीं कह सकते हम, यानी पूर्ण रूप से सत्य नहीं है कि हम ऐसा कह सकते हैं कि व्यक्ति बुरी चीज की ओर आसानी से अट्रैक्ट हो जाता है। दरअसल
Mhm.
बात ऐसी होती है कि हर एक चीज के अपने कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स होते हैं, अपने प्रॉपर्टीज होते हैं, हर एक्शंस के भी अपने कुछ अगर हम सरल भाषा में कहें तो कुछ क्या प्रॉपर वर्ड मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है, पर अगर आप देखिए तो कैसा होता है कि एक मिलियन प्रश्न में बड़ा यही प्रश्न पूछा गया है। तो देखिए, जो गलत कार्य होते हैं, जो अकुशल कार्य होते हैं, वो कैसे होते हैं, ये करने में बड़े सरल होते हैं, आसानी से उपलब्ध हो जाते हैं, है ना। तो इसलिए भी व्यक्ति उनके ओर ज्यादा मन झुकता झुकता है उनका, क्योंकि एक सरल सी बात है, कोई भी ज्यादा मेहनत नहीं करना चाहता है। भगवान कितना प्यारा कहते हैं कि पानी तो हर कोई पीना चाहता है, पर कुआं बहुत कम लोग खोदना चाहते हैं। फल हर कोई चाहता है, पर खेती बहुत कम लोग करना चाहते हैं। तो उसी प्रकार से क्या होता है कि हम चाहते तो बहुत कुछ है, पर उसके लिए वैसी मेहनत नहीं करना चाहते। यह बहुत ही सरल सा नैसर्गिक नैसर्गिक नियम ही है ये, कि अगर आपको कोई लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट चाहिए तो यू हैव टू इन्वेस्ट लाइक दैट, यू हैव टू पुट योर एफर्ट्स लाइक दैट, है ना। अगर आप शॉर्ट टर्म प्लेजर चाह अगर आप क्विक प्लेजर चाहते हैं तो इट विल डेफिनेटली शॉर्ट टर्म प्लेजर, है ना। तो कैसा जो है शॉर्ट टर्म प्लेजर, जब देखिए प्लेजर की एक सबसे जो बेकार बात होती है कि प्लेजर हमेशा एडिक्टिव होता है। मानवीय स्वभाव होता है कि वो प्लेजर की ओर ज्यादा क्या होता है, बहुत झुकता है। अगर हम फ्राइडियन साइकोलॉजी में देखिए, अगर हम अनकॉन्शियस सबकॉन्शियस डिजायर भी देखिए, तो व्यक्ति प्लेजर की ओर झुकता है। फिर अब ये हो जाता है कि जो शॉर्ट टर्म या फिर जो क्विक प्लेजर देते हैं उनसे बहुत जल्दी प्रेशर मिल जाता है, तो व्यक्ति उससे एडिक्ट हो जाता है। तो एडिक्शन के बाद वो चीज हमारे लिए क्या हो जाती है, मोस्टली हानिकारक हो जाती है। अगर आप कोई भी चीज बराबर एक मेंटेनेंस में करें, एक मिडल पाथ में करें, तो कोई भी चीज आपके लिए क्या होती है, बुरी साबित नहीं हो सकती। ठीक है, पर हमारा जो एडिक्टिव नेचर जो बन जाता है उसको लेके फिर आगे जाके हमारे लिए क्या हो जाती है, वो हानिकारक हो जाती है। दूसरी बात जो जो बहुत आसानी से जो व्यक्ति बुरी बातों की ओर झुक जाता है, कि उसका कारण ये भी है कि वो उसके अपब्रिंगिंग कैसी हुई है, उसकी फिलॉसफी, जो द फिलॉसफी ऑफ हिज लाइफ की कैसे डेवलप हुई है, वो अपन करता, उसने किस चीज को प्रायोरिटीज देना सीखा है अपने लाइफ में, वो सबसे ज्यादा मैटर करता है। क्योंकि हम ऐसे बहुत सारे लोग देखे कि जो गलत वातावरण में पलने पर भी, कई सारे स्लम एरिया से भी कई अच्छे अच्छे बच्चे निकले हुए हैं, तो वो वैसे क्यों नहीं बन पाए, उनके सामने, उनकी आंखों के सामने वो सब चीजें थी। तो दूसरी बात ये भी होती है कि उसकी अपब्रिंगिंग या प्रायोरिटीज उसने लाइफ में कैसे बना के रही है। अगर उसकी प्रायोरिटीज अच्छी प्रकार से डिसाइड करके रखी है, तो सरल सी बात है, वो कभी भी शॉर्ट टर्म प्लेजर की ओर नहीं झुकेगा। वो अपने आप अपने एफर्ट्स पे ज्यादा बल देगा, वो समझेंगे इस बात को कि अगर शॉर्ट टर्म एफर्ट्स ले रहे हो तो उसके लिए वैसे कीमत भी आपको चुकानी पड़ेंगी। तो ये दो बातें होती हैं। सबसे पहली एक बात कि मानवीय स्वभाव होता है, वो सबकॉन्शियसली डिजायर ही वैसे करता है कि वो प्लेजर की ओर ज्यादा घूमता है। तो जो क्विक प्लेजर होते हैं, जो तुरंत जिसे प्लेजर मिल जाता है, वो एडिक्टिव नेचर के बन जाते हैं हमारे लिए। तो उसके कारण से वही जो आज अच्छे सभी अच्छे अच्छे लगते हैं, वो आगे जाके हमारे लिए क्या हो जाते हैं, बुरे साबित हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि हमारा हमें उसको लेके हैबिट्स डेवलप हो जाती है। हैबिट इसलिए डेवलप हो रही है क्योंकि हमारा एडिक्टिव नेचर बन जा रहा है उसके प्रति। जिसके अगर हम बायोलॉजिकली साइकोलॉजिकल बायोलॉजी देखें, तो हम देखते हैं कि डोपामाइन जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक, जो डोपामाइन जो ये होता है हमारा न्यूट्रांसमीटर, उसके एक्टिव होने के कारण से ये एक होता है। दूसरी बात, हम एक जो कल्चर डेवलप कर देते हैं, जो फ्रेंड्स कल्चर जो हमने, या फिर जो कंफर्ट जोन जो डेवलप करके रखा है, वो कंफर्ट जोन भी एक काफी अच्छा रोल प्ले करता है हमारा एडिक्टिव नेचर डेवलप करने के लिए, या प्लेजर डेवलप करने के लिए, या हमें बूस्ट अप करने के लिए, मोटिवेट करने के लिए। तो ऐसा देखिए, क्योंकि हर किसी को गंदी हैबिट डेवलप नहीं होती है, पर कुछ लोग बड़े आसानी से हो जाती है, क्योंकि उसका फ्रेंड सर्कल भी वैसा होगा जो उसको मोटिवेट कर रहा है। वरना बचपन से हमें सिखाया जाता है कि सिगरेट मत पियो, शराब मत पियो, ये मत करो, वो मत करो, और आगे जाके मोस्ट ऑफ बच्चे कर लेते हैं। तो क्या हुआ, तो मोटिवेशन। अब मोटिवेशन अच्छी बातों का मिले या बुरी बातों का मिले, मोटिवेशन चीजों को इजी पर्सपेक्टिव से देखने के लिए व्यक्ति का जो सिनेरियो वैसा बना देता है, तो इस कारण से फिर उसका और डेवलप हो जाता है। तो ये एक दूसरी बात हो जाती है। सो दैट्स वाई। तो ऐसा नहीं कहा जा सकता कि हम आसानी से झुक जाते हैं, बल्कि हमें उसके लिए मोटिवेशन मिल जाता है आसानी से, क्योंकि अच्छी बातों को मोटिवेशन करने के लिए हमें अच्छे स्टोरीज की आवश्यकता होती है, अच्छी वर्कशॉप्स की आवश्यकता होती है, अच्छी फिलोसफी की आवश्यकता होती है। और अच्छा सुनते कम लोग हैं, अच्छा पढ़ते कम लोग हैं, है ना। टू बी अ गुड पर्सन वी नीड हाई लेवल ऑफ थिंकिंग।
थैंक यू बंते जी।
Thank you again, Bhanteji. Do we have any other questions, or anyone just wants to add their thoughts?
बंटी जी, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है।
जी जी।
मेरा क्वेश्चन एक्सपेक्टेशन से रिलेटेड है।
यस।
इंसान की फितरत है कि हम एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं किसी से ज्यादा। कभी कुछ होता है तो उस पर कंट्रोल कैसे करें, क्योंकि ये मन को बाद में दुख देता है कि भाई हम ऐसा करते हैं, उसने हमारे साथ ऐसा नहीं किया। तो इस चीज पे कैसे कंट्रोल करें?
See, to be a social animal, it is so easy and it is like एक वो बात ही है, अगर आप सोशल एनिमल तो आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन होंगी, है ना। वी आर सोशल एनिमल, तो एक्सपेक्टेशन होंगी। बट द डिफरेंस है ये कि हाई एक्सपेक्टेशन, लो एक्सपेक्टेशन, दैट्स मैटर मोस्ट, ओके ना। तो कैसा होता है कि इन्वेस्टमेंट, हाउ मच यू आर इन्वॉल्व इन दैट रिलेशन, दैट्स मैटर मोस्ट। अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व हो तो ऑफकोर्स आसानी सी बात है कि आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन बढ़ जाएंगी, और वो होना स्वाभाविक है। तो सबसे पहले एक बात ये होना चाहिए क्वेश्चनिंग, कि मैं जितनी एक्सपेक्टेशन कर रहा हूँ, इज इट राइट टू एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम एनीवन दिस लाइक, और उसके साथ मेरा रिलेशन कैसा है। कभी कभार ये भी जानना चाहिए कि मेरा ही इन्वॉल्वमेंट है क्या ज्यादा है, कि सामने वाले का भी है। अगर दोनों तरफ से इन्वॉल्वमेंट ज्यादा है सो देन इट इज ओके। पर अगर आपका इन्वॉल्वमेंट ज्यादा है और सामने वाले का इन्वॉल्वमेंट ज्यादा नहीं, और एक्सपेक्टेशन आपके हैं, देन इट इज रॉन्ग थिंग, फिर आपको सफरिंग ज्यादा होंगी। तो सबसे पहली बात ये होती है कि आपका इन्वॉल्वमेंट कितना है। अगर आप चाहते कि आपके एक्सपेक्टेशन कम हो, तो अपना इन्वॉल्वमेंट कम रखो, एज ए नॉर्मल मेंटेलिटी के हिसाब से, एज ए नॉर्मल पर्सन के थ्रू बना रहा हूँ। बिकॉज वी आर, अगर हम प्रैक्टिस करते हैं धम्मा का, इफ वी प्रैक्टिस जनरसिटी, इफ वी प्रैक्टिस मेडिटेशन, इफ वी प्रैक्टिस माइंडफुलनेस, देन हाँ हम लोग प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं अपनी एक्सपेक्टेशन कम करने की। पर अगर हम ये सब बातों का प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते, मेडिटेशन का प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते, माइंडफुलनेस का प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते, जेनरसिटी का प्रैक्टिस नहीं करते हैं, तो देन यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, डोंट इन्वॉल्व मच इन एनी रिलेशन। अगर आप किसी रिलेशन में इन्वॉल्व हो गए हैं, तो आप एक्सपेक्टेशन इंटेलेक्चुअली कम नहीं कर सकते। अपने आप को ऐसा बोल के नहीं कि नहीं 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 एक्सपेक्टेशन हाई हो रही है, चल कम कर, आप बोल के नहीं कर सकते, कि एक्सपेक्टेशन इज द इमोशन, इट इज नॉट योर कॉन्शियस प्रोसेस। एक्सपेक्टेशन इज अ टोटली सबकॉन्शियस प्रोसेस। सो आप एक बार आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन हाई होगी किसी इंसान को लेके, आप खुद को बोल के ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कि कम करो कम करो। अगर आपको एक्सपेक्टेशन कम करनी, तो आपको उस व्यक्ति के साथ इन्वॉल्वमेंट कम करनी पड़ेगी, आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट कम करना पड़ेगा। एक तो ये एक तरीका है जिसे हम पैसिव वे कह सकते हैं, एज अ सोशल एनिमल, एक नॉर्मल वे कह सकते हैं। दूसरा तरीका है प्रैक्टिस माइंडफुलनेस, प्रैक्टिस मेडिटेशन, प्रैक्टिस जनरसिटी। ये दो तरीके हैं।
शुक्रिया
बट
बंटी
यू
जी,
आप
थैंक यू।
कॉन्शियसली आप अपने एक्सपेक्टेशन कम नहीं कर सकते। आखिर में माँ बाप, किसी भी माँ बाप को पता होता है कि मेरा ये वाला बच्चा आप बड़े होकर कुछ नहीं करने वाला है, पर फिर भी उन्हें दुख होता है। सो बिकॉज इन्वॉल्वमेंट है माँ बाप का बच्चों के साथ, पता
जी
होने पर भी उतना इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, अपना त्याग करते हैं बच्चों के लिए उतना। So involvement is matter most.
Thank you so much, Bhanteji. I really like the way you explain things. Like, it's definitely a very, very interesting perspective, and I really enjoy it. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
So any last questions? Any more thoughts? If not, then I think we can move on to the next portion of for today, which would be the kids' motivational stories. So I'll ask Prantiji to take over and introduce our kid for today, the one who will be sharing his story.
Oh.
Okay, like to say many thank you to our Bhante and express my gratitude for Bhante's presence and we hope to hear from Bante again. So thank you, Bante. Sadhuat to you, Bante. And so we will move on to our kids' motivational story. Our story reader is Ian Rajwade, and he's going to read a moral story for us. Let us all invite our children. Children, please unmute yourselves and announce your names.
Ira. Ian Rajwade. Hi, I am Arpit. Hi, this is Arohi.
All right. So, Nama Buddhai children, and
My name is Sanchi.
all right, welcome. I like to welcome you all to our online Vihara session, and thank you for joining us and spending your Sunday morning. Did you all know today is a special day in your family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Father's Day.
Yeah, it's a special day. Did you all wish your dad, your father, happy Father's Day?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's a very important role that fathers play in your upbringing and your development. So we, like Bante said, we have to be very grateful to our fathers. Okay, so if you haven't done so, please wish them and try to spend the day or sometime today with your dads. Okay. So today we will begin by learning the three Ratnas of Buddhism. You know, Ratna means in a Pali, it's called Ratan. So these are the three jewels of Buddhism. And what are those three jewels of Buddhism are? Do you all know? They call three gems in Pali, and these gems are, the first gem is Buddha, the second gem is Dhamma, and second gem is Sangha. So Buddha is he's the most enlightened one, and he's the foremost, right? And we will recite a gatha to pay our homage to him. Okay, so can you all fold your hands together? And when we fold this hand together, it's called Anjali. And one of the Bhantes, I was listening yesterday, he said Anjali means you have lotus in your hands. So with lotus in our hands, we will recite this gatha to pay our respect to our venerable teacher, Lord Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay. So Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay. And that means I pay homage to him, the blessed one, the worthy one, the fully enlightened one. Okay. So he is the one we call three Ratnas, and he is the one of them. So the Buddha is one of the Ratnas. Second is Dhamma. So there are many definitions of Dhamma. Dhamma means the law we learned from Lord Buddha, which teaches us the cause and the result. So whatever the result is, there is a cause for that. So the Dhamma is the law of Kamma. Dhamma is how the nature works inside you, and nature works outside of you too. And what is Sangha? Anybody? So Sangha is like all the Bhantes that follow the Eight Noble Fold Path, all the Arhants who followed the Eight Noble Fold Path and attained Nibbanas, and all the Upasikas and Upasak. So what is Upasaka is? Upasika is the person who tries to follow the Buddha's path shown by Buddha. And upasikas are like people like me who are trying to follow the Buddhist path and try to attain Nibbana. Okay, so these are all the people like you, me, all, and the Bhantes. We are all follow, we become a Sangha. Sangha is like a group of people. So these are all the three Ratanas that we learned today about Buddhism. So any questions on that? Okay, so no questions. So we will invite Ian to read the story for us.
Thank you.
You have a presentation?
Namo Buddhaya. My name is Ian. I'm 7 years old. And this is my third time reading for the kids reading program. Thank you. Jebin, everyone. Can you hear me okay, everyone?
Yes, we can hear you, Beta.
Can I present my story, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not a presenter, my dad is, and my brother made it for me.
Okay, they all help you. So that is what it is.
Okay.
We all help each other learn.
Yep, yep. Do you want me to make you, give me a minute. Are you the host right now? Mahendra, I'll make you host, co-host, so that you can, I'll do it. Give me a minute. You're the co-host now. Can you check?
Yes.
Awesome.
Jebin, everybody, once again. My name's Ian Rajwadi. I'm 7 years old, and I'm going to be reading The Talkative Tortoise. Once upon a time, Ranabata was the king of Benares, and the Bodhisattva, being born to one of the king's court, grew up and became the king's advisor in all the things human and divine. But this king was very talkative, and when he talked, there was no chance for any other to get in a word. And the Bodhisattva, wishing to put a stop to his much talking, kept watching for opportunity. Now there's dwelt a tortoise in a certain pond in the region of Himalaya. Two young wild geese searching for food struck up in a familiarity with him, and by they grew close friends together. One day, these two said to him, "Friend Tortoise, we have a lovely home in Himalaya on a plateau of Mount Situka, Sikota, in a cave of gold. Will you come with us?" "Why," said he, "how can I get there?" "Oh, we'll take you. If only you can keep your mouth shut, not say a word. Anybody to anybody." "Yes, I can do that." He says, "Take me along." They made the tortoise hold a stick between his teeth, and themselves taking hold of the two ends, they sprang up into the air. The village children saw this and exclaimed, There are two geese carrying a tortoise by a stick. By this time, the geese flying swiftly had arrived. The space above the palace, the space above the palace of the king, the Beaners, the tortoise wanted to cry out, Well, if my friends do carry me, what is that to you? If a cat eats, and he let go of the stick, but from between his teeth, falling into the open courtyard, split into two. A poor, there was a tortoise has fallen in the courtyard and broken in two, they cried. The king with the Bodhisattva and all his court came up to the place, and seeing the tortoise, asked the Bodhisattva a question. Why, sir, what made this creature fall? Now it's my time, thought he. For a long while I've been wishing to admonish the king, and I've gone out about seeking my opportunity. No doubt. The truth is this: the tortoise and the geese became friendly. The geese must have meant to carry him to the Himalayas, so he made him hold a stick between his teeth. Then he lifted him into the air. Then he must have heard a remark and wanted to replay, and not being able to keep his mouth shut, must have let himself go, and so must have fallen the sky thus become my by his death. So thought he, and addressed the king, O king, they have too much tongue. That set no limit to their speaking. Everyone to such a misfortune at this. He uttered following verses. The tortoise must need speak aloud, although between his teeth a stick he bit, yet spit of it, it yet spit of it, spoke of and fell beneath. And now, Almighty Master, mark it well. See thou speak wisely. See thou speak in season. To death the tortoise fell. He talked too much. That was the reason he is speaking of me. The king thought to himself, and asked the Bodhisattva if it was so. Be it you, O great king, or be it another, replied the whoever talks beyond measure comes by some misery of this kind, and so may the thing manifest and measure, and thenceforth the king abstained from talking and became the man of few words. Thank you and Namo Buddhaya. Can we do the moral now?
Thank you, Ian, for reading this story for us. Let us ask our friends if they understood the story and if they have any questions. Was everyone able to understand the story? Any questions for Ian on the story? So, this story, you probably read Bodhisattva. So, this story is like called Jatak Tales, okay? And Jatak Tales are the stories about Bodhisattva's previous births, okay? So, these stories are very interesting, and you can also read about these if you are interested in reading. If you like to, like this is a summers, and you, if you like to read something very interesting, these are available online and you can read this. The stories are very valuable in the sense the lessons you learn from these are so important. So if you need something interesting to read, these are, you can read the Jatak tales, they are called. So anyone has any questions, or you can guess the moral of the story.
I think the moral is to talk only when it's necessary, otherwise, you will fall into trouble.
That's a very right moral. So, do we all do we do the similar kind of, do we see similar kind of behavior in us? Do we talk sometimes when it is not necessary? We all
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, we all do. So sometimes we have to be very mindful of what we are saying too. Sometimes it's the time when we need to speak, we don't speak, but when it's not time, we speak. So it's we have to know when should I talk. Also, the amount of the speech, like am I talking too much, or I'm talking too less? So you also need to know what to talk, right? And also you should know the benefit of talking at the right time, and the effect of talking, what you are going to speak is going to have the effect on others and on also yourself. So this is like we talk about that precept, we take a precept, musavada, that means no lying, but also it includes many, many parts of speech. So frivolous talking is like, talking too much, which doesn't have any value. That is called frivolous speech. And this turtle was famous for that, and the friends take him to this expedition, telling him, giving him a condition not to talk. But the mistake happens, and that mistake cost him is, what does it cost?
It cost him his life.
Yeah, it cost him what a, it's a, it's a very big cost that he has to pay for his habit, right? And his ignorance, we can call it. So what lesson can we learn from this then? One moral, the we just discussed, we have to be very careful about our speech. Other moral we can learn?
Yes.
Arohi is there. Arohi, can you add a moral here, beta? Okay, Ian. Uh-huh.
If talking too much it can get a little bit obnoxious to people, but you don't know that because you have a habit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So we just, how do we know this when, how do we control ourselves? We should just check our limits, right? We should just know, yeah, I have to be very careful, right? Because when we see others talking too much, it can be annoying for ourselves. So same way, we can see that when I talk too much, it can be annoying for others as well. Okay. Any other morals, kids? Those who didn't share, they can please share their moral. Okay, Ian, you want to share the moral then?
Yeah. Yes, Auntie.
Mm-hmm.
The moral is talking too much can get you in trouble. It's important to know when to be quiet.
Yes, that's a nice moral and it applies, right? To our, applies to all of us. So what lesson do we take? We need to know when should I be quiet, right? And it can be annoying to others when I talk too much. So any questions or comments for Ian? Any questions? And Ian told us that his dad and brother helped him prepare and find this story, right, Ian?
Yes.
So we thank you to dad and Dada, Inesh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do
Right.
you know?
We know him. Yeah, he was very active during the Anna retreat. So we know Dada. So we thank you him and your dad as well.
Kranti, Auntie,
Yes, beta.
where can I get the Bodhisattva stories?
You can Google Jatak Tales, but I found a page and I can share with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was with pictures. And when you read these Jatak tales, also look at the pictures. And if you look at the pictures, and then in future, sometimes if you get to visit these lanis, Ajanta lanis or Ellora lanis, in future, if you go and visit them, these pictures will be painted on those lanis. So when you read these Jatak tales, and when you visit those lanis or caves, these are not caves but lanis, you will see these pictures and you can say, oh, these are the Jatak tales. And these Jatak tales are nothing but the life stories of Bodhisattvas. Okay. So
Thank you.
very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the information.
Yeah, I'll share with you that page that I have. So let
Thanks.
us all thank you, Ian, for reading this story to us. And Beta, we thank you for reading this story and wish you all the best with your studies and in future. And we wish you good health. And please do come back with another great story in future. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone. And Jai Bhim.
and Jai Bhim, yes. Anybody likes to volunteer to read story next week? Please put your name in the chat box. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Ian, again. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. And I completely, agree with the moral. Like, I do think we need to think before we speak. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Kranti ji, for managing the session as well. It was really nice. And thank you all the kids for participating. It was really nice hearing your thoughts and, seeing what you guys think as well. So with that, I'm excited to move on to our next speaker, our guest speaker for today, who is Advocate Harish Chandra Sukhdeveji. Just to introduce him briefly before he comes on, Mr. Harish Chandra Sukhdeve is a retired banking executive and a social activist with a focus on education policy. He is a first-generation literate. He came from a remote village in Bhandara district of Maharashtra. He's a passionate student of Ambedkar's ideology, and he writes on contemporary issues with the Ambedkarite perspective. Post-retirement, he is engaged in social activities related to education and Buddhism. During the OBC conversion at the Diksha Bhumi on December 25th, 2016, Advocate Sukhdeve played an instrumental role, and he was one of the main conveners. So I want to thank him sincerely for that. He has published 3 books so far, and his book on the 1956 conversion ceremony is titled as "Making of the Dome of Dignity, Diksha Bhumi." It's on Amazon. In the past, he's spoken about NEP 2020, and recently he has submitted his comments to the government of Maharashtra about the introduction of Manusmriti and Bhagavad Gita in India's educational curriculum. With that, he'll be speaking on today's topic, which is the ghost of Manusmriti sneaks into the education system of India. And I'm really excited to begin this discussion. I'll request Mr. Sukhdeveji to introduce himself and begin the talk.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya. And thank you, Ayushman Jyoti, madam, for giving my introduction. It was a bit, I don't know where from you got that. Few things I have told to Vivek ji. I want to thank Vivek ji also, who happened to read my article, which is basically my submission on new curriculum framework by the government of Maharashtra, which was declared and open for public debate. So Vivek ji perhaps read it somewhere. I have shared on WhatsApp and elsewhere also. So thank you, Vivek ji, and thank you, Anna, for inviting me for this session. Anna is not new to me, so I'm also not new to Anna. And I think we have already interacted, as you said, on NEP earlier, then about Dhamma relations also. So before I proceed, I will compliment Ayan for telling that story about talkative tortoise. The wonderful story and wonderful moral. It also speaks about one of the Ashtanga Marga, that is Samyak Vacha. So we should always speak in a balanced way. So don't have to face situation like that tortoise. And and I want to also thank Bhante Sivli ji, for a beautiful talk on what is positive person. I mean, who are the positive or not so positive people, and how the things can be improved in our own personality. So thank you, Bhante ji. Vandami to you once again if you are there listening to us. Today's topic, as you know, is about the ghost of Manusmriti sneaking into the education system of India. I had also suggested another topic name, but it was the same meaning: two nations theory of education system. Two nations theory is basically a narrative, propaganda narrative by the RSS. And it amounts to the same thing, because when Manusmriti sneaks somewhere, or some of our authorities, education specialists, they try to rely on Manusmriti for our education system, future system, then we have been always objecting and telling this to all whoever lend their ears to us. And also, we sent letters to the members of parliament, about 500, on the education policy. We sent multiple of memorandums, and we found that this policy, there is whatever was framed in 2019, continues to be accepted as a policy for universalization or centralization of education policy in India. So my granddaughter is also there. Shuri, I can see you. So uh, I will briefly speak about what is wrong with the policy since the drafting level. And I will speak little less so that there is more time for question and answer. And I will welcome any kind of questions on education policy. Let's discuss. So what happened? Government had formed some committee for revamping the entire education system sometime in 2000. They started with 2015, then in 16, some what will be the policy um, bullet points that was presented before the parliament. And then the committee was formed under the chairmanship of Dr. Kasturi Rangan, who happened to be the chairman of ISRO, a very illustrated personality, Padma Vibhushan by the government of India. But the draft policy, when it was formed, we had raised some very serious questions, which I said we wrote to all the MPs also. The from draft level itself, the policy has been flawed because it encourages privatization that will increase the cost of education for everybody and will become absolutely out of reach for the poor people, poor socially, economically, educationally. Another aspect about this draft policy was philanthropics were relied upon the whole thing. The whole policy was proposed to be, the education system was proposed to be, or rather is proposed to be, handed over to the philanthropists, which is a very dubious. Uh, you know how the philanthropists or they try to influence the government policies, and then they push forward their own agenda for government making policies in their favor just by, so for philanthropists, it is just the investment for their future profiteering. And this education policy, unfortunately, encourages privatization and profiteering, commercialization of the entire education system. That is the biggest threat to our kind of people getting education in in India. I mean, forget about the elite class. That is only 1 or 2% in India, maybe 10%. Rest of the 90% people, they are illiterate, ignorant, and not I mean, they are outright poor, you can say. We can't say that they are less rich even. So while making this policy, what government proposes rather, now it is being accepted, that the private authorities shall be given everything, all kinds of freedom in the name of autonomy. So they can decide their own curriculum, they can decide their own administration, the financial stake, and everything. Government through this policy also although says that they want to invest some 6% of GDP, unfortunately that 6% is also a far cry because government is not spending enough on education policy or education system in India. It is because of this policy that many thousands of small schools, public schools in India, public schools in the sense that they are the government schools, these are getting closed and merged with some dubious model of school education that has been introduced in this policy is school complexes. So And besides that, this education system or policy completely trivializes the education at secondary level and even at higher education levels. This policy doesn't speak about right to education, which is a fundamental right under Article 21A, which was introduced recently only a few years back. The policy absolutely doesn't speak about reservations, if these are to be given, how and when. So Article 15 about education, Article 16 about employments are also getting violated because of this policy. About scholarships also, I mean, you must have come to know that in India, scholarships to the SC, ST students are pending for last several years. That is not being released, whatever be the reason. But this policy doesn't speak about scholarships also. This policy tries to propagate special education zones in remote areas to educate, or rather for skills development of poor people. And though there may not be other schools, so that is going to be exclusively for SC/STs. So whatever we learn through co-education by intermingling with other sections of the society, that will be snatched away from us. So those ACZs will be some kind of ghettos only, teaching very limited curriculum, very limited kind of activities, and permanently barring rather you from any higher education. So these are certain objections about the national education policy in brief. The original draft was some 600 pages. Finally, a small policy was introduced, and while recommending, what happens, draft is prepared by some committee that is placed for public deliberation. People's comments and feedback is invited. In this case also, on draft 2019, some 2 lakh objections or feedback was given by the people to Government of India at their request. But finally, when this policy was sanctioned by the cabinet, not by the parliament, it's a simple administrative cabinet decision which is being thrust upon the entire nation. And under this policy, whatever curriculum is being prepared, that curriculum, recently Government of Maharashtra has shared what their draft curriculum, and we can see that the cat is out on the road. How do you say that idiom? I don't know, but cat is out. And now it is very blatantly introducing the kind of law book which they call Manusmriti. So, and this policy now, what is being framed by the Government of Maharashtra for curriculum framework, blatantly quote from the Manusmriti, and that is better quote, of course, one of the good quotes in the Manusmriti. Otherwise, that is absolutely dirty religious text which had to be burned by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar at Mahad in Mahad Satyagraha on 25th December 2000. What was that? 1927. And if that is to be accepted, Manusmriti is to be introduced, or our own what they call Indian knowledge system is to be introduced as per the policy, then we will be learning more of Vedas, more of Puranas, mythologies, the Mahabharata, maybe the Ramayana, actually from Bhagavad Gita, one whole section, Adhyay, Bhakti Yoga, is being introduced as a curriculum in the at the secondary level, from 8th onwards, I suppose. So now what is wrong with that? There is nothing wrong with that, apparently. Apparently, for the policymaker, there may not be anything wrong. They say that this policy or education system is based on constitutional values. And while quoting this, they tell us that constitutional values, constitution itself had considered our past, so many traditions, this, that. One of that they mentioned is an edict at what is that, Merur. This draft of curriculum framework tells us that our constitution had taken or was based also on Uthira Merur edict, Shilalekh bolte hain. So what is that Uthira Merur edict? It is a complete Manusmriti. If you have to say just in few words, you will say that Uthira Merur edict, which they claim, this policy document claims, is the basis for our constitution. Now, what is the Uthira Merur? What does it say? Uthira Merur edict is not very old. During the Cholas, they had donated one entire village to the Brahmin community. And that is Uthira Merur place. If you search, you can get all the details on Google or any other portal. What does Uthira Merur say? They ran the government democratically. Okay. But what does it say? What kind of democracy Uthira Merur rock edicts tell us? That the member of the committee, running committee, say it was a parliament of that village. Okay. What does it say? That anybody who wants to be member of this Janpad or the managing committee, he should be a landlord, having some land. Okay. He should be a taxpayer. He should have his own house. And he should know the Vedas. If he doesn't know Vedas, he doesn't have house, he doesn't pay taxes, or he doesn't have land, he is not eligible to be a member of the democratic body, they say, they were running this village. Is this the requirement as per our policy, as per our constitution? Not at all. Recently, we participated in the election in India, and everybody knew that one vote, one value. Somebody is rich, so he will be having two values. He can give 2 votes or 10 votes, not like that. So this is how these curriculum framework are going to form the curriculum for students to study. And these ideas that somebody who knows the Vedas, somebody who is rich and pays the taxes will be superior to others. So there will be this nation of rulers, rich people, and there will be another nation of disadvantaged servants. And this policy is trying to create those two distinct nations. If you remember, Baba Sahab had told Gandhiji that I don't have a homeland. What was that? He was actually speaking about two nations within the nation of India. And in giving us constitution, he tried to ensure that social democracy evolved in India. Now, this education system is taking us back to several centuries by introducing education based on Vedas or Manusmriti or any Indian system as defined in this policy. Because as per this policy, Indian knowledge system is limited only to the Vedas, only to the Sanskrit literature, and only to the higher classes. They speak about Guru Shishya Parampara, and in this framework, they quote this sloka from Manusmriti, which says that giving respect or being obedient to your parents, to your teacher, to your elder will bring you good fortunes and you will evolve as a good person in the society. Nothing wrong in that. We should respect our elders, our parents, our teachers. But then who is the teacher? Should we trust the teacher like the one which is defined in Manusmriti, or who will introduce or teach the essence of Manusmriti? Can he be an ideal teacher? Because this policy is focusing on Guru Shishya kind of parampara. And if that happens, then when the policy also says that they want to make students who will be independent, they will have their own reasoning, they will have to have their own opinions based on their knowledge, of course. But if we teach these things, that to be obedient at any cost to your masters, to your teachers, then what happens? Then we know what had happened to Angulimal. This policy doesn't speak about Tripitakas or any Buddhist literature or any literature outside Sanskrit. There is Tamil literature, vast literature in Tamil languages on our ancient systems. There is a vast literature in Bengali language. But this policy doesn't speak, or they don't know about those things, that they also belong, those knowledge systems also belong to India. Like Buddha's knowledge system is entirely contrary to the so-called Indian knowledge system as defined in this policy. Now, what does Buddha say about the teacher? Buddha says teacher should teach all to all. Let us digest this. Let this sink in your minds. Buddha says teacher should teach all to all, holding nothing back to himself. Whatever he knows, he must teach to all or at relevant times. So teacher should teach all to all, holding nothing back, keeping no one out. Keeping no one out. So now this is very contrasting teaching to the Vedic teachers who believed that Vedas can be learned only by the priestly class Brahmins. So it was a large section of people was kept outside the education. So Brahmins can learn everything. Kshatriyas can learn about warfare and those things, those tactics, and rest of the people don't have to learn anything. So if that is the Indian knowledge system, and if that is to be introduced, then the languages issue comes in. What this policy says, all education should be in the mother tongue. Fine. That's very good. But maximum education should be in Sanskrit. Sanskrit is offered at all the levels as one of the languages. And so far, when English was compulsory in most of the schools, rather all the schools from secondary level onwards, now they say that it is not necessary. Actually, at one place, when they mention this languages, they mention these Indian languages can be learned, and these foreign languages can be learned, and in those foreign languages, English is missing. Now, this policy wants everybody, each one of us, to learn Sanskrit. But when Sanskrit was a language of power, language of the rulers, everybody was kept out of that, out of the reach. They were not supposed to study Vedas. So, if we assess this policy blatantly violates every bit of constitution. And as I told you, we have been sending letters to the MPs, to the governments. They have not taken any cognizance. I sought all the information under RTI, and I got the cabinet note, the notings on the files and all those things. And now we come to know that whatever policy was framed, and at least they had mentioned about right to education at draft level, about the scholarships to some extent. Reservations they had not mentioned anywhere, even in the draft policy, except in higher education levels. They said, okay, the institutions running those colleges or institutions, they may give reservations, but it was not compulsory. It is not compulsory. Now the draft policy, when it was placed before the cabinet, I came to know through the RTI, when it was placed before the cabinet, and cabinet before any question there?
No, sorry for that. Few
Okay,
people have
okay,
unmuted
that was unmuting. So I got it. So what happens? The process was draft was placed before the people for their comments. Some 2 lakh people offered their comments. We also had offered at multiple levels on multiple issues and so, and based on that, Human Resource Ministry, earlier Education Ministry at central level, they made a policy document for the cabinet for approval. So cabinet, I could see, I could know through the RTI answers I got, that cabinet removed all the references to commercialization, profiteering, privatization. So this policy, for all practical purposes, is privatizing the education system from nursery level to higher education level. So the cabinet level, at the PMO level, all those references are deleted. One reference in the draft was right to education should be made applicable up to 14 years of age. So that also has been deleted, and what is replaced, rather comment, it has not come in the policy, that instead of right-based education, instead of having a rights-based education, let that be initiative-driven. Now, who will take the initiative for giving free admission? Will the private schools give? Will the philanthropic institutions give? No, I don't think so. So, right to education available under the fundamental rights under Article 21A is totally silent in this policy. Now, having said this, what I want to share with you is that we are planning to file a public interest litigation against this policy. I met one senior advocate here in Nagpur who is expert on PILs rather. Of course, he's very illustrative advocate and very experienced one, but very favorable to the social cause. And he is also aware about the education policy drawbacks. So what are we going to object to this policy? There is no parliamentary approval to this policy. This is typically made by a small coterie of people of a particular ideology sitting in Bangalore. Then it was placed for people's feedback. They got the feedback, but whatever feedback was given on the draft policy was not taken into cognizance. It was not taken into account while finalizing the policy. How do I know that? Because I had asked for executive summary of the people's feedback on draft policy. And they said, we have not prepared any executive summary. So obviously it was not taken into account. So we are going to ask them to discuss it at broader level among the members of parliament, in the parliament. All earlier policies, or there was only one policy, national policy earlier in the on education, that was in 86. And that was sanctioned by the parliament. So what was the hurry to introduce this policy without public deliberations, without taking into account what people have said, what are their expectations, what are their aspirations of all the society, sections of society, without taking into anything into account, this policy was declared haphazardly. So our first objection will be no parliamentary approval. Although this is policy, I am told that advocate told me that this is a policy, not a law. But at the same time, this policy violates all other constitutional provisions. It is thrust upon unilaterally on the states. This is as you know, education is in a concurrent list. So central government also can make a law or policy, and state governments also can make a law. But this policy is entirely centralized policy. Too much centralization of powers in the managements of the institutions. And it is going to be very, very highly disruptive policy, because we told to the government of Maharashtra, we brought this thing to their notice, that only in recently about all the curriculum was changed only recently, between not even 2010, just 15 years back. The whole curriculum was revised, that framework was decided, and curriculum is being set. Now, immediately within 15 years, not even one generation has learned under this policy. Before that, they are trying to formulate a framework for curriculum and education administration based on the so-called Indian knowledge system, which basically is a Brahminical ideology. This policy, if we know it correctly, is framed as per the ideology of ABVP, RSS, and what they called at a broader level, Sangha Parivar. So this is totally lopsided policy, which can be challenged in the court of law, having violating Article 21A, 14, 15, 16, and not having placed before the parliament. So we are working on that. And I will conclude here with this note with one small appeal. If it happens, and everything goes well and we are in a position to file an PIL challenging the policy, then we will like to have more people joining us, giving us inputs, making this movement was stronger by contributing in whatever way, financially or intellectually. And because this is going to be a very expensive proposition. And this is the right time for filing PIL. And at the same time, we also propose to bring this once again to the notice of newly elected MPs. And there are many of them who will definitely like to squash this policy ab initio. So with this note and with this appeal of support for PIL, I conclude here and you can ask me questions. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sukhdeviji.
you.
It was a really enlightening talk, and thank you for sharing all that you're doing with us. And yeah, the floor is open for questions, thoughts, anything. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello. Can I?
Yes, you can go ahead.
It was really, as you said, very enlightening and excellent presentation. But he didn't mention the name of the organization and how we can join and in his efforts.
Okay, sir. Actually, thank you for that. Actually, we have sent this communication earlier on draft, as I said, to the government, to the MPs, and we have not a formal organization. Let me be very clear about that. We have formed one Shikshan Sangharsha Samanvay Samiti. So many people are working on this education policy. I personally, along with other friends, had toured the whole of Vidarbha, going to various places and creating awareness amongst the common people, teachers, professors, even students. So organization, whoever finally, if we can file through this Shikshan Sangharsha Samanvay Samiti, we'll do through that. If any registered body is required, then we can find out some, definitely one of our organizations, registered bodies. They will, if they wish, we can file through them also. So I'm not saying that donations should be outright said, because there is nobody to receive those donations. So we'll have to formalize the organization going to the Supreme Court, and then we will make appeal. I'm just telling you in advance that we are seriously thinking about filing an PIL, public interest litigation, in the Supreme Court.
Can we have your contact information, please?
Oh yeah, sure. Shall I put it in the message box?
Yeah,
Chat
please.
box? Okay, I'll put in between, or maybe okay. I'll write my name. I am now Advocate Harishchandra Sukhdeve, and I took this sanad only recently. I have not started any practice. I don't intend to do, but I want to have that identity as an advocate when I go to other advocates or to the Supreme Court for coordinating the things. So I should have that identity. So I took a sanad only recently. My name is Harishchandra Sukhdeve. My phone number is 9422811511. Then I am on Twitter at Ask Ambedkar. Very easy to remember. Ask Ambedkar. Sorry. Ask Ambedkar. You will find my pinned tweet, what I spoke about the policy, the detailed document on my Twitter handle as a pinned tweet. And there will be many tweets and many comments and things if you search by NEP in my profile, Ask Ambedkar. But that is, of course, if you are interested, anybody is interested. So this is my contact number, name, and Twitter handle. I am not on Facebook. If there is any Harishchandra Sukhdeve on Facebook, don't entertain. I am not that.
I thought you would put these on the chat box and the
I
Zoom.
put it. I'm sending
Yeah,
it.
sure.
I sent it. Yeah. Anything else? Satyanath ji lives where? Is in America or India? This,
I mean, New
this-
York.
you are in New York, sir. Okay. Nice to talk to you. And maybe we already met sometime in Anna's retreat or somewhere. I mean, maybe. Okay. Anything else?
Ajay, you can ask your question.
Yeah, Sukhdev sir, I just want to know that
Ajay ji, yes.
just
Yeah, tell me.
this is Ajay Thul from New Jersey. Uh,
Yeah, I know.
like these two, supports of NDA, Naidu and Nitish Kumar. Like, can
Mhm.
we approach them because those two, they are not like hardcore Hindu parties. Maybe they can put pressure on
Now,
the government. Excuse me.
yeah. Yeah, of course we can. We are going to send. I'm going to prepare another memorandum for all the new MPs. We have got their addresses. We sent some. I told you, no, earlier MPs we sent some 500 letters to 500 different MPs. And we had sent it even in Hindi so that if somebody is not good at English, learn reading English or compatible, not specifically Hindi belt, what you call. So we sent in Hindi and English both to all the MPs. So we are going to write once again to those MPs. This time more concise based on the policy finally sanctioned. Earlier representation was on the draft policy.
Yes, but if these MPs are from different parties, it won't
Yeah.
create as much impact, But if it's coming
No,
from
no. I mean,
Nitish Kumar and Naidu,
yes. We need only one MP to raise the voice in parliament. Last
so
parliament, nobody took any cognizance. Maybe they did not really capture what is there in the draft policy. So they were just, even in election campaign, this education was missing on both the sides. Also from India, uh, what they call group, ND and India Alliance, India Alliance. So even they did not speak about much about the education. Forget about policy, even about education.
yeah, they don't
There,
care much about it.
yeah. So we will have to. I mean, when we give it to MPs, to the government, to Nitish Kumar's party, Nitish Kumar himself, Chandra Babu Naidu himself, we can give it. We don't know how much they will uh, read or respond to us. That is their prerogative. But if you go to the Supreme Court with PIL, with all these drawbacks in the policy, then the government will be forced to answer to the judiciary. So judicial intervention can be there, and that only can give some hope to us so that this policy is made more holistic or more what you call people friendly, poor friendly. So that is the only hope, and we are now coming. We have come to that end. We were expecting political intervention earlier, but nothing had happened.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sukhdevaji, Jai this is Vivek. Thank you for joining, and I think this is definitely an enlightening call, and at the same time, it's also dangerous what you have explained to the community. My question is how international community, by far most NRIs who are in the USA or any part of the world are Indian by default. It affects the families back home. How as a NRI can support to this endeavor so that this PIL becomes successful at the same time. Is there any way mechanism something we can Ambedkarite as a NRI, put some memorandum as well.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, Vivekji, thank you for bringing this out. I forgot to tell you. Um, I I wanted one more feedback from you people there, that what is the education curriculum up to say higher secondary level. All governments universally they follow this 1 to 12 pattern. So 12th is the crucial year, 12th standard is the crucial year for everywhere all over the world. So what is the curriculum there? Are they mixing the, when we studied, we had curricular subjects and non-curricular subjects. Those were mostly hobby classes. Now, this policy, and we very strongly object to this, they have done away with the difference between curricular and non-curricular subjects. So what were the hobbies classes like painting, drawing? Those are hobbies, music. Those are hobbies people try to get introduced early on and then take a formal education if necessary, if that suits them, if that earns them livelihood. This policy simply says that, okay, you can get a degree or diploma only by doing your hobby classes. What is he going to do with that? What anybody will be able to do with those diplomas? There must be thousands of, Visharad or any music degree or these, that. Are they, how many of them are really, they have made their source of livelihood? Less than 1%. So this is absolutely, I call it killarpana. If we use the Marathi word, चिल्लरपणा जो आहे तो इंट्रोड्यूस झालेला आहे. ॲब्सोल्युटली चिल्लर चीजें डाल दी गई है पॉलिसी में. This is not. They don't want to have a very heavy, you know, education, detailed study of subjects. So textbooks will be lighter, not only in weight, but also by knowledge. So this policy very blatantly, very unashamedly declares that they don't want to burden the students with too much of a knowledge. Okay, too much of a knowledge may not be good, but at least basics. There is a recent article by the professor in Delhi, I think Delhi University or some. He says, because of this mixing of liberal education and all that, doing away with the too much focus on vocational subjects, now what they are getting students going to get, it will be, nobody will be very knowledgeable in his domain area. Everybody has his domain area, no? All other things are frills to your personality. Somebody is IT professional, somebody is marketing professional, somebody is accounts professional. He also might be doing some music, maybe dance, maybe this, maybe that, maybe drama. But domain is different. So this policy doesn't want poor people, poor, ignorant, illiterate people or parents of the students to, because how they will know what is good or bad? They will say, okay, 12th, he is passing 12th with some music and some, wooden toys making and this or that. Okay, he becomes a 12th pass, and then maybe he can also become a graduate. But what is his domain knowledge? What use he can do of his education to earn livelihood? And that is the biggest objection to this policy. So NRIs, they can, I forgot to request you, I think, we want your feedback from what is the system they follow in America. Your kids study in the up to secondary level, what kind of curriculum they study. And are they supposed to choose their own subjects? That is what is proposed in this policy. in India, that students will be free to choose their subjects. And the choice of subjects is, Maharashtra's Lalit Kala, which includes playing gambling, which includes hand reading, palm reading, face reading. Those are all cheap trades. What kind of business any educated society can give to these people? Fortune tellers, for example. And so this is what is spoiling the education at childhood level. And we want to know, that will be very good addition if you can give some feedback to us, what kind of education system or policy or curriculum framework is there in USA for classes up to 12. That will help us to give some perspective to our opinions in the Supreme Court PIL.
Okay, so they are comparing like the US system, and then
Then we want to compare. They are not comparing.
Oh, they are not comparing. Okay.
They are not
So
comparing. What they are proposed about America is that they want to study the problems of American society. They want to teach the problems of American society to the Indian students. They don't want to speak about the problems of Indian society. And they don't want to tell Indian children the problems of Indian society, which everybody knows, and they want to reinforce those earlier four varnas, and that is how this Manusmriti is getting, um, introduced, getting amalgamated in the education system. So that is dangerous.
right. And these two democracies are much different, when it compares to American system, and it cannot be compared the oranges to apples. It's
So
like a totally. It would be.
Yes. Burdening students with knowledge is the underlying philosophy of this education policy. And I don't agree. Unless we burden and put our students to rigor, a good rigor, not too much of a burden, but they should have good, um, uh, good curriculum to study and think about it. So this system, this curriculum framework, they don't want to do that. That is the problem.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, sir. I think this is a good point, and we can definitely collaborate with you and bring some US educational curriculum to your notice. Where our kids
If
in
somebody can share
colleges.
with us, I can search it on online, but it is difficult to get through. So you have a ready-made textbooks and framework, what your kids are going to be taught in their respective classes. So that will be useful. Yeah.
No, definitely. A lot of our kids, are in high school,
But I don't
colleges,
think,
everything.
Vivek, I don't think in America also they have done away with this difference between curricular and non-curricular subjects.
No,
Non-curricular will be.
Yeah, what you are what you are expressing, the concern, and I also read about it. It seems we are going completely backward. It's not a progressive society would do it.
Yes,
And
exactly.
what India is bringing, or the Maharashtra government is bringing, this is an extremely regressive way of politicizing the system. As you said, the amalgamations into the young minds. I think is very, very dangerous for the any progressive society.
That is a slow poison. That is going to be a slow poison, this policy.
Right. Yeah. So definitely will tie up with that and share the information, and definitely that if that helps at all for the PIL, I think
that
would be great.
will help us draft the policy to bring out what are the systems elsewhere in the progressive, better society, which is most powerful educationally and also financially. So how they teach their students.
Sure.
And why should we not accept their system? Why should we be so? Another objection to this policy is they want to thrust Sanskrit to on the entire nation through this education policy. Because whatever Sanskrit teachers are mostly from one particular community, One Mohammedan fellow, poor chap, he studied all the Sanskrit texts and these and mastered the Sanskrit and was appointed in BHU as a Sanskrit professor from a Mohammedan community. He was not accepted as a teacher, as a professor by the students of BHU. So you can imagine how much poison they have already put in the minds of younger, the college going students. BHU is not a school, it was about the college, higher education. They don't want to study Sanskrit. They want Sanskrit to be taught, but not by the Mohammedans, the maybe Buddhists, maybe Jainis, maybe, I don't know. So, and Sanskrit, what kind of relevance Sanskrit has now? When it was a power of language of power, it was not allowed to be learned by us. Now, when English is the language of power and authority everywhere, all over the world, you can say, they don't want us to study English. So this is these things will have to be challenged in the court.
They don't want us to learn English, and they would put their own children in all convent
Yeah,
schools.
exactly. They will send them to their English. So this policy is basically for the people who cannot afford education in private schools, in English medium schools. So the policy makers, nothing is at stake so far as policymakers are concerned, because their kids are not going to go through this kind of education. So they are somebody else who is not going to be the user of this policy, is thrusting this policy on others who are whose parents are not literate enough to choose or decide which way is better for their kids. So that's the problem.
Thank you. I think, Krantiji, you had a question in between. Did you still have a question? Or
Yeah, thank you, Jyoti. I just wanted to ask, how could we create awareness among the parent and students about how dangerous this
Yeah.
policy?
Okay, as I said, when the draft was out, that from that time itself, we have been writing on these, holding public meetings in the schools, organized by local activists. So we did that. We should be writing more on this. At least I may be having some at least 8-10 articles on Youth Ki Awaaz, if you happen to go to that site, on education policy. That is, some of them are there in Hindi. I wanted to write in Hindi because the audience there is more of Hindi talking people, so they should also know in Hindi. So I have been writing at least about awareness. We have been doing our best, but then we will have to educate people, our own people, whose parents are not literate enough, what subjects they should avoid while studying, even at the cost of extra burden of study. Because if they are not used to hard work at this level, they will be never ever doing any hard work in their life. They will always go for easy life. As Bante Sivli said, we don't want that kind of generation.
thank you. And Lalaji, you can go ahead with your question.
Hello, Advocate Harishchandra.
Now you just call me Harish, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Advocate is just I'm not used to advocate name.
No. I
myself.
think it is
Okay,
important
Laliji,
to
tell
address.
me.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So I'm a faculty here in the university in the US.
Yeah.
So I know about US education system to certain extent. So I will be happy to read the memorandum that you prepared, and also you are interested in looking at what are the best models in the US. And also, I think in India, there are already best school models in the private schools. A lot of interesting private schools are there. and I appreciate what you have been doing because that is what Dr. Ambedkar had envisioned. This is primary work of the educated classes to understand what are the policies that are impacting the masses and how to advocate for bringing a social change. So really appreciate your work for being vigilant and taking
Thank
this
you.
forward.
Thank you very
So
much.
and there is more responsibility of educated classes who may be ignorant about this. Even in people might have earned wealth, but the social and cultural reality of India has been, I think, quite trampled at multiple level. So it is important to understand what is happening at various policy levels. Unless and until we understand what is happening, we cannot intervene and address and advocate for change. So really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. I'll send you memorandum which we are going to prepare now towards the PIL and also for new MPs. So I'll send that. If you want to read my earlier representation on draft policy, maybe you can, if you can see, go to my Twitter handle, Ask Ambedkar. It is a pinned tweet, so the document is there. That was article published in Vihara. The same thing we sent to the government also. I mean, with little modifications.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Ms. Mayuri, did you also have something to share or a question for us?
My question was in line with Kranti Tai, what she asked, like if we make the parents aware, like what they are going to face in future right now, and make them aware. So I think from the ground level, if we get the objections with respect to this policy, then I think it will be more helpful. So I think to little bit, sir has already said something like what they are working on it. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. So your question was already answered, I suppose.
Does anyone
Yes,
have
yes.
any other questions or any more thoughts they wanted to share? All right. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that in the chat. If everyone, since we'll be concluding soon, if everyone wants to, copy that link, that would be great. They can do so now. But if nobody has any more questions or any thoughts that they wanted to share, with that, we can go ahead and conclude today's session. I just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. Oh, does anyone have a question?
I have a question just on the practical sense of so I come from a poor village near Baramati, and I have a family there. We're still doing farming, and Baba Sahib's message is very strongly ingrained in that community. But I'm wondering, sir, what would be your advice for a family who's still farming? On how can they make changes and contribute to this, very important equality-based education and the essence of language in it. Any thoughts around that in terms of just the ground movement and how we motivate people who have challenges in daily lives and how they can be part of this larger movement? That'd be really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. See, everybody can contribute in its own way. So far as personal or family education, somebody is there in the school or college, then we should be very discreet, choosy about what kind of subjects we should choose. And many times parents, maybe even if they are illiterate or anything, but given the chance, they also can think which subjects will be better for their future career. So whatever is offered in the plate on the menu of this curriculum framework that is offered in various annexes 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So go through that carefully and see that whatever subjects are chosen by our own kids or by anybody else's kids who is known to us, then we should be able to tell them that at some in if he wants to go to a for a higher education, then he will have to choose one or at the most two, only one rather, domain area in which he wants to pursue his higher studies. And only subjects related to that, even though they may be very tough subjects. So don't go for a simple, easy subjects or easy kind of education that will not lead our kids anywhere. So there has to be some kind of rigor in the subjects in the education also. So they will have to remember this. In whatever way we could take this message to farmers, to the rural people, to our other community members, in whatever way we could take this, we should take.
This is a very practical advice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Were there any last thoughts, any other questions? Okay. Right. So if nobody else has any more questions, with that, I would like to conclude today's online Buddha Vihara. I want to thank everyone for joining today. I really want to thank Venerable Banteji Sivali for blessing us with your Dhamma talk. I also wanted to thank Ian for sharing a wonderful kid story with us, and Krantiji for conducting the session. The kid session today was really delightful listening to everyone speak. I really, many thanks to our guest speaker, Advocate Harish Chandra Sukhdeve, on explaining this anti-constitutional policy that's being implemented in the education system of India. It definitely was not something I was aware of, so I'm really grateful to have had the chance to listen to you speak, and also really thank you so much for all the groundwork that you are doing and you plan on doing. It's really important, but thank you so much for sharing that with everyone here today. I will also want to thank all the participants who joined today, who spoke up. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and for asking such wonderful questions. And thank you for just joining today, and for all those who plan to join next week for next week's online Vihara session. With that, we can conclude today's online Vihara. Thank you, everyone. Namo Buddhaya and Jai Bhim. Thank you.
Just one question, quick one. This Velivada.com, the article is the one written by Harish Chandraji. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. You want me to say something? You shared some link here.
No. I think that link is coming from Lalit, so it's from.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But I call it. I call it a very ingenious trickery. My title of this article was Indigenous Trickery. This may be the another article, I don't know. But there are two or three articles on Villivada on education policy. So it's okay. But ingenious trickery, I said always, because that is very deceptively written policy. So that is that. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for listening patiently.